Hello, everybody. This is Global Warming Skeptic, and look at these pictures of this supermoon. It's on my Twitter. These are some pretty damn neat pictures, I'll say that. Well done, well done. But, anyhow, that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is a point to Democrats. And by Democrats, I'm referring more to the Democratic establishment, but even progressives are guilty of most of the same things. So, I'll start off by saying this. On the issues such as minimum wage, health care, gun control, etc., people agree slightly with the Democratic positions. They do want background checks, they do want universal health care, and they do want these progressive ideas: entitlements, minimum wage, $10, and I'd probably even say $15 an hour would get more than 50%. Perhaps. Maybe about 50%. So, Democrats will win on the issues if they just kept everything the issues. And this is a problem that we're having. And I listened to a rant, I can't remember the guy's name. It's on my Twitter, but the um the guy talked about how if you if somebody disagrees with your position, even if it's on a position of race, on sexism, on abortion, etc., it does not make them a bigot. It does not make them racist. It does not make them xenophobic. It does not make them homophobic. But this demonizing of people is what turns others off. Because if you look at the issues, people are generally sympathetic. They're sympathetic, I'd say even more sympathetic than realistic, but people look at issues as they pertain to their lives. A lot of people aren't that interested in actual political theory or ideological theory. So when they read about an issue, they think of it as it applies to their lives. And most people are loving, sympathetic people. And when you call people names, when you call conservatives names, and when people are on the news and they see this, they see that Trump voters are racist homophobes who support the KKK. People are going to look at that on CNN and think, I'm not a Trump supporter, but my father's a Trump supporter, and he's not any of those things. And people will look at that and they'll slowly get turned off to liberal progressive ideas. Not necessarily because they agree with the ideas, but because they disagree. Not because they disagree with the ideas, but because they disagree with the people who are pushing it. And that's what the Democrats have done for the past 10 years, maybe. Ever since John McCain was demonized and he was crippled by character, and I'm no McCain supporter. I did not vote for John McCain. I voted for Ian Kirkpatrick, the Democrat. But, so, I have no love for McCain, but I have to say this. In 2008, he was demonized out of office by Obama and his supporters. And that's when the debate started shifting slightly from more on the issue side to more the character side. And that's a problem for you Democrat establishment people. You people who lifelong vote Democrat, support the Democratic Party. This is the problem. When you shift from issues to character, you're giving up your advantage, your innate advantage. An advantage, by the way, that is not concrete. Because now you have a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate. If Republicans if the country does positively under Republicans, the debate's going to shift. And when that debate shifts, you're not even going to have the advantage on the issues. I want to point you to a time, 1932, where Republicans nearly died as a party. They lost nearly every bit of control. They were down to the low 20s of Senate seats. They were crushed in the House. FDR had 4 straight terms as president. 4 straight terms, and then you had Truman. And Truman unwittingly brought the country back closer to center by getting into more war. But if that wouldn't have happened, the Republican Party would have been done. So here's the problem that you guys are facing. You're facing a problem where you've lost all majorities. And rather than learning from your mistakes, as Republicans did when they embraced FDR's New Deal policies in the 1950s, when Eisenhower did, that's part of the reason how he won and stayed in power for 8 years, was because instead of trying to fight that, he accepted it, and he accepted the Republicans had to change their attitude, and they did from then on. So, if you don't put the debate back on the issues and stop demonizing people, you're going to lose the country. Because you have the Libertarian Party. They are licking their chops looking at this. They see this train wreck. You know what they're thinking? They're thinking, how can we replace one of the major parties in America? And they've already got seats in Congress. And they're starting to get a critical mass in seats of government where they are actually a relevant party. Perhaps not for the presidency, but for a force of change. And the Democratic Party is losing their influence. There was a time when Democrats just always held Congress. And that was not that long ago. Even during the Reagan years, Democrats held control of one or both houses for most of the time. Republicans did not get full control of Congress until 1994, after 1950, when they gained it after during the Truman disaster. 1950 to 1994, and now you've seen it slipping away from Democrats slowly. But even then, the Democrats still had the slight advantage on the issues. But what you've seen is all this mean-spiritedness, and especially with this support of irrational activism. There's nothing wrong with a peaceful protest. But where the problem is when you ignore violence in Charlotte, in Baltimore, in Ferguson. Violence and vandalism because you're supporting activism. And I'm sorry to tell you, but when people look at those protests and they see that violence, they're not going to support that movement as a whole. When they see that you're trying to intimidate Trump supporters by beating the shit out of them in the streets, they're not going to support your movement. When they see you tossing people out of cars, kicking them in the head until their head looks like a fucking tomato, they're not going to support your movement and steal the guy's car to boot. They're not going to support that. You may say this is a peaceful protest. Most people aren't doing anything wrong. I got news for you. In a riot, 2% of the people make up 100% of the riot. Most rioters are bystanders. Most people aren't throwing crap in the middle of the street and setting it on fire. Those are the spectators. Most people in life are spectators. But what are they spectating? Are they condemning that violence that's going on around them? You see a few, I've seen some brave souls who were watching people busting cars up with a baseball bat in Baltimore when there's pure anarchy and there's no cops. I've heard some brave people, some brave black people, by the way, say, this isn't our movement. And those people I'm proud of, because it's not easy to do that in a crowd of people. But the reality is, this is not what we live in. And that person that got the shit kicked out of him after being thrown out of his car, people holding the camera, taping it, not only were they just bystanders, they were egging the guys on. He voted for Trump, he voted for Trump, he voted for Trump, beat his ass. Or in Charlotte, he's white, beat his ass. Good luck getting people to support that. More importantly, good luck getting people to support you if that's what you stand for. If that's what you stand with. Good luck with that. Because you have thrown away the advantage that you had. And like I said, it's a good advantage. I'm a person of the issues. I want to debate the issues. Even if my side is at a popular disadvantage, I want to debate the issues. I don't want. Character matters, but it matters in a different sort of way. It's not, oh, he said the word pussy, or he talked about screwing a married woman. He talked about buying someone furniture, try to get in her pants. Just that doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with how somebody's going to run the country. It means they're an asshole, and I'll be the first to tell you, Trump's an asshole at times. But he's no more of an asshole than a lot of other humans, and those same humans also have the capacity for empathy. They love their families, and that's Trump too. You look at the negative, but you don't look at the positive. The man loves his family. But the point I'm making is none of that matters. All that matters with character is that the guy has humanity, period. If you're going to vote against the guy who made mistakes, then just call yourself a loser, because you're not immune to making mistakes any more than Trump is. So there's that. But character matters in the sense of judgment. It matters in the sense of intuition, knowing people, in how he's going to govern. What's his general philosophy going to be? Character matters in that sense. Trump has good and bad there. I'll admit that. I'm not gonna kiss Trump's ass here. Trump has good and bad with character. But with the things that matter, the bad is pretty mild. But here's the point. You lost this election not on the issues, but on character. Because people were defending themselves, and more importantly, their family members, who they knew weren't bigots, who they knew weren't racists or xenophobes, who they knew, yes, maybe they weakly agreed with Trump's Muslim ban, but not because they hate Muslims. Deporting illegal aliens because illegal aliens take jobs. That's the perception, and there's definitely 100% truth to that. You can't say that illegal aliens are taking zero jobs. It's just not happening. They're taking jobs from very poor communities. It's not just the jobs that normal people won't take. Undoubtedly, there's some, but for you to say they're not taking any is just ridiculous. But point is that whatever the reason, it's not because they're a racist. And there's probably most people who will disagree with me on the issue of illegal immigration. That's fine. That's fine because that's an issue related thing. And you know what? Your disagreement's not going to take away, is not going to take respect away from you. It's a disagreement. Disagreements, elections should be won on the balance of agreement versus disagreement on the issues, and if it's close, then you throw some character into the mix. Here's my point, and I'll leave this here because I don't want to ramble on for too long. But debate abortion, debate climate change, debate minimum wage, debate entitlements, debate tax reform, debate all these things. But here's what you're not going to win debating. Don't debate whether I'm a racist or whether Trump is a racist unless it is super clearly obvious that what he wants to do is put policies in place that will directly, and I'm saying directly, I'm not saying any of this indirect stuff like voter ID, which has shown no decrease in black turnout at all. Look at the numbers. I just did a video on this, by the way. White people make up less of the electorate this year as a whole in the elections, or at least the presidential, but I'm pretty sure it's even all the elections, than at any point in history. In the history they've kept track of it. White people have went from something like 90% of the electorate 40 years ago. This election, according to exit polls, 70%. 2012, they made up 74%. So it's down. So voter ID, but don't debate that I'm a racist because or that Trump is a racist for supporting that idea, or Republicans in general are racist for supporting that idea, or affirmative action. But debate affirmative action. That's a fine debate. Let's debate it. Let's talk about it. Let's bring up the numbers. Let's discuss in a civil manner where we can, if not love each other, at least be civil toward one another in our exchange of ideas and not have to resort to mudslinging. So that we can debate like adults. Debate minimum wage. Debate $15 minimum wage. It's a rational debate to have. There's stuff on both sides. Let's hash out the benefits of one side versus another. But don't call me against poor people. Don't call Trump against poor people. Don't call any congressman against poor people if they don't support a $15 minimum wage. That's not how discussions work, folks. So stop doing it. Because once you do it, you know what you do? You not only turn off the other side to even wanting to listen to you talk, but you're turning off friends and family of theirs, even ones that will disagree with, even those that will disagree with their friend. but they hear what you have to say about their friend, and they know he's not a racist because they just know him. Period. You know, Joe Blow doesn't want a $15 minimum wage, but he's not a racist. That's what their thinking is. And so when you say that and a friend sees that, they just stop supporting you off right off the bat, like that. You turn them off because your message is one of character assassination and not a message of being informed, exchanging ideas, being loving, considerate, calm. So here's the thing, and this is the ultimatum. You guys got 2 years before this gets out of control. This is a warning to the Democratic Party, and I want you to listen close. Change your attitude back to what it was. I'd even advise better than what it was because it still wasn't that great 10 years ago. But get rid of the activist attitude, or you're going to go the way of the Whigs. Period. That's what's going to happen because it's already happened. Look at the history of the Whigs and look at where the Democratic Party's going right now. And tell me that a major party cannot go extinct within 20 years. Anyhow, enjoy the supermoon, everybody. Thanks for listening. God bless. Like, comment, subscribe.